is VSiN PrimeTime. Live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Scott Seidenberg and Will Hill here with you on VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the sports betting network. You can hit us up on Twitter. He is at Not The Will Hill. I'm at Scott's On Air. A week from today will be the first round of the NFL draft, and a lot of people will be sweating out their draft bets. And here in Vegas, it's not a lot of stuff that's offered on the NFL draft. A lot of bookmakers don't want to expose themselves to really not getting the information in time. I listened here to VSiN, and if you are a regular VSiN listener, I'm sure you've heard the promo for Gil Alexander and a numbers game where Gil is 100% right. And Will, I can tell you this, and I know you know this from experience too, but Gil has a promo running now on VSiN where he talks about how in the years past, the draft used to be a cash cow for sharp bettors. Like, you used to be able to find edges in the market because the information can be found out there that the books didn't account for. But nowadays, it's almost impossible to find these edges. And it's almost impossible to find the bet availabilities.
Plus, there were not as many people talking about these markets, looking at these markets. Now there's all these different betting shows and betting podcasts, and betting is legal. It used to be a little bit of a backroom situation where, offshore, Vegas didn't start booking this stuff until really recently, a few years ago. Mm-hmm. Now it's just more mainstream, and it's like an Easter egg hunt, and all the Easter eggs get snatched up, and let's just call it like it is. The books don't do well on this stuff. They are in a situation where it's a rare situation where they don't have the edge, and they take their ball and they go home. I mean, that's really as simple as it is. And you get a situation like Penix going 7th to Atlanta, which paid like 100 to 1. They don't want to be paying out those type of bets, and they don't like a situation like last year where we all could have just predicted the first 5 or 6 bet before Penix. It was all chalk. We all knew who was going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is almost worse. So the unpredictability where you're paying out these long shot 100 to 1 ticket, that's a nightmare, because how do you account for that and all the possibilities? And then the predictability where everybody, you, your mother, your brother, everybody knows the first 6 picks, and you can't make the number high enough. There's no defense to the information. So these books just have been very reluctant to post it. Let me ask you, what do you, not to sit here and ask for your mock draft here, but what do you know? What do you think you know? What are you sure of? Like your top 5. If I asked you, like, who do you think's going where? I think the consensus right now is pretty much Ward 1, then Sanders, then Carter, then the offensive lineman. I'm drawing a blank on his name from LSU, I think, and then Mason Graham 5th. So those are the top 5. Do you have like a differing opinion? Do you think we see an upset, or do you think it's pretty much chalk?
The one thing that I am sure of in my mind, and I don't know if this is not about whether I think it's going to be chalk or not, Shedeur Sanders is not going 9th to the New Orleans Saints. In fact, I don't think he goes in the top 10 at all. And it's a shame with these betting markets because I can't bet a no.
Right.
He is a favorite to be a top 10 pick. If I'm looking at DraftKings right now and I'm seeing, to be a top 10 pick, Shedeur Sanders is at minus 220. I want to bet the no. And I guess I can look at one of these like betting exchanges maybe to see if I can get down on that. But I don't get it. I know there's hype because of Deion and whatnot. And by the way, Deion Sanders had to come out today and comment on the criticism for Colorado retiring both Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders' numbers, which I tweeted out a joke the other day. I was like, I can't wait for the next coach at Colorado to have to unretire number 2 to give it to a recruit, because I get it. Travis Hunter did something that was historic and no one's really done before. Like, he won the Heisman, he won the Blitnikoff, best wide receiver, won the Bednarik, best defensive player. That's historic. Retire that guy's number, great. What the heck did Shedeur Sanders do at Colorado to earn a jersey retirement other than make it cool to transfer from Jackson State to Colorado? And he brought Travis Hunter with him? Like, what did he do to deserve a jersey retirement? I don't get the hype surrounding him. I do not think he is a top 10 pick. And maybe the way to get about this bet, Will, because I don't know how else to do it, is to look at the quarterback props and bet someone like Jackson Dart to be the second quarterback selected instead of Shedeur Sanders. You can get Dart at plus 200 to be the second QB taken. Sanders is minus 250 right now.
Yeah, and if he doesn't go to the Saints at 9, then the question is, you start to go through some of these teams, and once you start to get past 10, 12, it's like, all right, these teams have their quarterback. The better teams have their quarterback for the most part, unless one of these teams that is picking later thinks they need to replenish, like a Rams or somebody. I don't know top of my head what number they have, but them trading up, somebody like Cleveland or the Giants trading back into the first round. I'm not sure. Like, we're sitting here supposed to be giving out bets. What bet? I mean, if you want to bet over 8.5, it's funny that he's minus 210 to go in the first round, because then we were looking between the break. He's minus 350 or so to go over 8.5. So that doesn't add up. Unless you think he's going 9th or 10th. I don't know. I don't buy this idea that the Saints are definitely going to draft him. I'm not sure.
That's the favorite right now. That's the favorite. The favorite is the Saints.
Well, Carr's hurt, so they think that Sanders is automatically going to go there. Maybe.
Plus 140, Saints.
Yeah, not enough. Not enough meat on the bone. I mean, I could see him going there, but is that like a great bet to take him plus 140 to go to the Saints? Again, I get the logic for why they would want a quarterback and why they would pick him. I would need more than plus 140, wouldn't you?
Why would a team, like, first off, you have to understand everything that's going to come with Shedeur Sanders being drafted, okay? If you have a top pick in the draft or any team that selects him, you're obviously quarterback needy, which means that you're not projected to have a good season. And as soon as you start to fail, don't you think the conversation about Deion Sanders is going to come in? Now, maybe not so with the Saints because they just hired Kellen Moore, and so you're not going to talk about firing him after 1 year.
Yeah.
But for any team that drafts Shedeur Sanders that is maybe down in the dumps, don't you think the conversation's going to be like, well, if they get rid of this coach, it might be time to, bring Coach Prime to the NFL. Like, that's going to be the move to be made. So I don't think any team wants a part of that. And if you look at the odds to draft him, I mentioned the Saints are the favorite at plus 140. Steelers are next at plus 390. Who the heck knows what the Steelers are going to do? Waiting on Aaron Rodgers. The Giants are plus 410. Browns 5-1, Jets 13-1, Raiders 17-1. Team to draft Shedeur Sanders. I just want to bet the no that he goes in the top 10, or the over 8.5 is just so significantly juiced. I can't bet it. Like I said, maybe I'll try one of these exchanges or something and try to put something out there. I'd love for a book to give me a no price.
Do those exchanges book the draft? Because I don't use those, but from what I've heard, they don't. There's not an interest in anything information based. Yeah. But I could be wrong, just because it's almost like a live bet thing where why do I want the other side? You might know something that I don't, so those might be hard to get a dance partner on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Out of all those teams you mentioned, I could see Pittsburgh at plus 390, just because Tomlin's a strong enough head coach, a strong enough personality where his job's not threatened. I could deal with Deion. He's a leader. There's those aspects where he's not going to get flustered by having the hype around him. He can shut it down. He's been around Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. He's very good at quieting the noise, and they need a quarterback. I mean, you can't go through this carousel every year of the Russell Wilsons and Mason Rudolph and whoever, Pickett, whoever, and you go 9-8 and you sneak in the playoffs and get killed in the first round by these other teams that have good quarterbacks, which a lot of them do in the AFC. So maybe if they identify Sanders as a big-time player, maybe they take a shot at 21. It's not like you're picking him first or second. I could see that. That makes sense. But to your point, the kid came from Jackson State. It's not like he's got the pedigree of, this is not Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck, of somebody that's just going to blow off the charts, blow up the numbers in terms of what he is in terms of a pedigree standpoint, because, he was a 1AA prospect. So it's fascinating. I think of all those numbers, Steelers, though, does make some sense at almost 4-1.
It brings me to my next point. I might be on an island here. I don't think Cam Ward's going to be successful early on in the NFL. I know that he's the best of this bunch. I don't think this bunch is good. I think that,
I agree.
And it could be comparable to, look at the draft from a couple of years ago. I mean,
Yep.
Trevor Lawrence was the slam dunk, right? Because he was the best of that group. But look at that group. They all stink. None of them are starters anymore except for Trevor Lawrence. And what do we know about Trevor Lawrence? Showed some talent, high contract, but does he look like the generational talent that everyone thought he was? I don't think so. I think I don't know. I mean, for Cam Ward, I can go back and I can look at like the old Bill Parcells quarterback rules, like rules for drafting a quarterback. Be a 3-year starter, be a senior in college, graduate from college, start 30 games, win 23 games, have the 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and complete at least 60% of your passes. Yes, Cam Ward qualifies for that. Only if you count incarnate Word.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't. To me, I only qualify his play at Division 1A, right? Or FBS, whatever it's called now. Like, I don't count playing at incarnate Word. So, to me, he doesn't qualify for those quarterback rules. I don't know. We'll see. We're not done debating this draft. Obviously, next week is going to be fun. We have plenty more discussion to go with what we are betting here for the NFL draft. Speaking of exchanges, Profit X is offering the best odds on baseball all season long. Profit X is a peer-to-peer sports exchange. It's available in 40-plus states, the first of its kind in the U.S., because you're going to be making your picks against other groups of fans rather than sports books. And exchanges guarantee you the best odds on average by 10 to 20%. You can even request your own odds. Download Profit X today. Use promo code VSiN. Earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. Coming up next, Ian Cameron, sports handicapper, will join me and Will Hill right here on VSiN PrimeTime.
This is VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back here on VSiN PrimeTime, I'm Scott Seidenberg alongside Will Hill here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Joining us now on the progressive guest line is sports bettor and handicapper Ian Cameron, always on Twitter at Bobano Bets. And he joins us to talk a little Stanley Cup playoff action. Might even get an NBA bet or two from Ian. Ian, thanks so much for joining us here on VSiN Primetime. I got to ask you about the Battle of Ontario first off. I know you are a Hamilton guy, and we have Toronto and Ottawa for the first time in the playoffs since 2004. I believe this is the 5th postseason meeting between these two franchises, with Toronto winning the first 4 meetings. Leafs right now minus 170 in the betting markets to win this series. What's your handicap on these two teams?
Yeah, this is back in the days when I was in high school when these two teams met in the playoffs. 20 years ago, it's a long time ago. You had the likes of Daniel Alfredson, Zdeno Chara, playing for the Ottawa Senators. And, of course, you had on the Toronto side Matt Sundin, Joe Nieuwendyk, Gary Roberts. It was a long time ago when we're talking Battle of Ontario with these two teams the last time they met. I think the biggest thing that people are going to point to with this series is, are the Toronto Maple Leafs ready to make a deep playoff run? Are they ready to get past some of the demons and the failures of recent years in the Stanley Cup playoffs? And I think when you look at this year's team and the way they're constructed, the way they have bought in to Craig Berube, the head coach, to playing a 200-foot game, complete game defensively as a team. They've gotten outstanding goaltending this year from Anthony Stolarz. And yes, they've been through a lot of pain. This is a franchise that's only won a single playoff series in the last 20 years, and that came against the Tampa Bay Lightning a couple of years ago. Prior to that win against Tampa, their last series win was against this Ottawa team back in 2004. So that's how long ago it has been. I think when you look at the Leafs, and I've said this a couple times already in prelude to this series, if you are not convinced that Toronto will win this series, I think it's more so you're hung up on the failures of the past. I truly think they've learned, from these failures, and they're ready to take that next step. When you look at Ottawa, there's a slew of these players that are in the playoffs for the first time. And I just think when you look at that blue line, when you get past Jake Sanderson for the Ottawa Senators, there's some holes there still. The kind of holes that I think the playoffs might exploit. So I do like Toronto in this series, and I think they're ready to ascend and finally have some success in the postseason.
Ian, one of the things people love about the NHL playoffs is unpredictability. You can get Cinderellas, you get these dark horses that make a run. Is there any team in your mind that can come out of nowhere and either win a cup or go to a cup final?
There's definitely a few, a couple at least, that stand out as far as that's concerned. One I'm going to mention here right off the top is, Montreal's a team that could lose to Washington in the first round. They're also a team that could make a very long run, and I know this is a very young group, but they have had one heck of a run to get to this point. I've been impressed with what we have seen up front, from a lot of their young forwards. I am fascinated to see. Lane Hudson has been outstanding. 60 assists for a rookie defenseman is unheard of. Only Chris Chelios in Habs history was the last time that happened. You look at Cole Caulfield and Slavkovsky and the way the captain, Nick Suzuki's playing. They're getting solid enough goaltending from Samuel Montembeault. And someone that really might be a difference maker. Now, he's very young, and he's only gotten a couple of games with this team, but the impact that Ivan Demidov's made, he just incredible skill, and you saw the stick handling ability and the plays he's able to make in a short, compressed, amount of space. Very impressive for a young kid. They are a team that I think, for me, against Washington, I could see them losing that series, but if they win that series, they could go a long way. There's a lot of boom or bust in Montreal, and that's why, as a longer shot, I don't think they're the worst bet in the world. It's worth a shot given what we have seen from them here this season down the stretch, and the fact that Washington, for as great a season as they've had, they've been on cruise control mode for weeks, and that doesn't always bode well for success in the opening round.
And Washington's banged up, Ian. Logan Thompson's still not ready to come back yet, so I don't know if they can rely on Charlie Lindgren in the postseason. No Alexi Protas either. We'll see if he's going to be able to return for game one of that series. If not, maybe at some point in this series. And if you just look at the bracket, it's the favorable side of the bracket. You avoid taking on the winner of the Lightning and the Panthers. You avoid taking on the Leafs. If the Canadiens can upset the Capitals, they could be live to beat the Devils or Hurricanes in the next round. We're talking to Ian Cameron joining us on the Progressive Guest Line. Bobano Bets on Twitter. I'm Scott Seidenberg. He's Will Hill. This is VSiN Primetime. I have several futures bets, Ian, on the Winnipeg Jets at various times this season. I've placed these bets, and I don't understand for the life of me why a team that has been the best team in the NHL from the start of the season to the end of the season, that wins the President's Trophy, that has two top 10 scorers in the league in Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, that has the best goaltender in the world, who not only is going to win the Vezina Trophy, but is going to win the Hart Trophy as the league's MVP. I don't know why, for the life of me, this team is, the 8th favorite to win the Stanley Cup? Are the Jets being disrespected, or are they truly not built for a deep postseason run?
The answer is yes. This year, Scott, I do think they're getting a little bit disrespected here. And this is Toronto of the West. Toronto for years has come up short in the playoffs. A lot of recent years, Winnipeg has come up short in the playoffs, and specifically their likely Vezina Trophy winning goaltender, Connor Hellebuyck. Because if we rewind to last year in the first round, you're not splitting the atom, and you don't have to be Ian Cameron hockey expert to figure out Connor Hellebuyck sucked in the first round last year against Colorado. He was not good. Okay, he got outplayed by a goaltender in Alexander Georgiev that's not very good and is now with the San Jose Sharks and hasn't had a great season. So I think a lot of it comes down to, and why they're being underpriced a little bit, the lack of recent playoff success for the franchise, and a lot of question marks about whether Connor Hellebuyck can bring that regular season dominance into the postseason. He was not able to do it last year because he just was not good at all in that first round against Colorado.
Do you think, Ian?
But if he does,
Ian,
this is definitely a team that can go all the way. Now, I will say this. There's a couple of key injuries that the Jets have here. Nikolai Ehlers, who is a very important player for them, both ends of the ice. He got injured down the stretch. He's not going to be good to start this series. And Gabe Vilardi, they're hoping to have him back. Yet they were able to win down the stretch. I'm kind of with you, Scott. I'm willing to look past the failures of the past with Toronto. I'm willing to do that with Winnipeg. And for St. Louis, great run by Jim Montgomery for them to get this far. But Dylan Holloway was a big cog in what made that Blues team go. and he will not be ready to start this series in game one due to injury. I'm with you. I think the Jets do win that series in advance.
One quick follow-up here on the Jets, Ian. I understand the failures in the past for Hellebuck, but I think that this year's different. I think the experience that he got in the Four Nations face-off, leading USA to that massive win over Canada. Yes, they lost the final, but the way that he played in that tournament opened up a lot of people's eyes, and I think that's the reason why he's going to not only be the Vezina, but the Hart Trophy as the MVP of the league. I think that big game experience he got in the Four Nations face-off is going to be the propeller to him having postseason success here.
Well, he gets to exercise some Four Nations face-off championship game demons here, Connor Hellebuck, because he's facing the guy that beat him in the gold medal game in the championship game, Jordan Binnington. Although you could say that Connor Hellebuck got him, obviously, in the round-robin portion of that tournament. So we've got like a Four Nations goaltending battle rematch here in this series. No, look, St. Louis is a team I've made a lot of money with, backed them quite a bit down the stretch, and certainly I wouldn't rule them out of winning this series. But the eye test tells you Winnipeg's ready. The way they defend, the way Hellebuck's played. They've gotten, Connor Scheifele obviously playing it. Josh Morrissey, what a season he's had on the blue line. The eye test tells you they're ready to put the past behind them and make a run. We'll see if they can do it.
Ian, last minute or so. Panthers, Lightning, Kings, Oilers. Give me your thoughts on just whatever series you're most excited to watch here as a fan.
Well, watch as a fan and have some betting opinions on, because I like the Lightning. I like the Lightning to get past the Panthers. The Panthers have been phenomenal getting to the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row, but they play a kind of style that I worry about them running out of gas for a third straight year, to go through 4 rounds. The way they play that physical, hard-hitting, smash-mouth style, hard on the forecheck style of hockey, it's a heavy game that Florida plays. And I wonder if they can run it back for a third straight year for a deep playoff run. And I like the way Tampa played down the stretch of the regular season. So I like Tampa in that series. I'm a little surprised that LA's a home. Now, LA has been owned by Edmonton. I get that in the first round. But Edmonton's got injuries. Connor McDavid's saying everything's going to be okay, but they don't have home ice. I think that's significant. LA's been awesome at home. They defend. Darcy Kemper's playing like he did when they won the Cup in Colorado, with the Avalanche. So I like LA to get past the Edmonton Oilers. And I know everyone's loving Colorado and everyone thinks Dallas is done. But the price is getting a little outrageous, and it's already up to minus 170, what I saw earlier. Mm-hmm. Colorado favored over Dallas. I get it. No Miro Heiskanen. They didn't play well down the stretch. Ottinger struggled. Robertson banged up. But I think Dallas is the undervalued commodity at the current series price there.
Love that. Ian, great stuff. Appreciate the time. Good luck with your bets. He is Ian Cameron. Hit him up on Twitter at Banana Babano Bets. I'm Scott Seidenberg. He's Will Hill. This is VSiN PrimeTime.
This is VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back here on VSiN PrimeTime, I'm Scott Seidenberg alongside Will Hill, right here on VSiN, the sports betting network. Great segment with Ian Cameron, talking a little Stanley Cup playoff action, which begins on Saturday. Will, I want to sell you on a bet. I know you're not the biggest hockey guy, but I know that you know numbers and you know stats. And if I could give you some data here, I think I can convince you to place a first-round series bet. Are you ready to hear it?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. Now,
I'm ready to buy.
Now, this is a bet that is at plus money, okay? And I'm going to give you some numbers here. This team has home ice advantage in their playoff series. So they are the home team. We can establish that. This team, in the regular season, had the best home record in the NHL with 31 wins, 5 regulation losses, and 4 overtime losses. They only lost 5 times in regulation at home this year. Their goaltender, who is not going to win the Vezina Trophy, but is certainly going to be a Vezina finalist. Now, Connor Hellebuck of the Winnipeg Jets will win the Vezina Trophy. Connor Hellebuck's stats this year: he's got a 2.01 goals against average, a .925 save percentage, and 8 shutouts in 63 games. That is why he is going to win the Vezina Trophy. This unnamed goaltender when playing at home this year, I mentioned they have home ice advantage in this series. This goalie on home ice in 25 starts has a 1.67 goals against average, a 935 save percentage, and 4 shutouts in those 25 games. In 25 home games, 20 wins, 3 regulation losses, 2 overtime losses. You want to bet this home team with me?
What am I missing?
That is the LA Kings goaltender Darcy Kemper and the Los Angeles Kings with the best home record in the NHL. They have home ice advantage over the Edmonton Oilers in the first round of the playoffs, and you can get the LA Kings at plus 115 to advance past the Edmonton Oilers.
Why is that line the way it is? Why is it like what? It seems too good to be true
because it's Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers.
Okay,
that's why. And they have the leading goal scorer in the league, in Leon Draisaitl, even though he's injured, and we'll see, about his return. And this is also a repeat of a playoff series. These teams have met in the postseason the past 3 years. And the past 3 years, the Edmonton Oilers have beaten the LA Kings in this first round playoff series. So that's why the odds are in favor of the Oilers, because like a recency history, 3 straight years meeting in the first round, 3 straight years with the Oilers advancing, and the Oilers do have the best player in the world in Connor McDavid and the league's leading goal scorer in Leon Draisaitl. But the fact that the Kings have home ice advantage, if this series goes to Game 7, it's in LA. I get 4 home games where my team is the best in the league at home, where my goalie is unreal, otherworldly at home, putting up historic numbers. I don't care if you win your 3 games in Edmonton. We're going to win the 4 games in LA. And you get plus 115. This is a no-brainer bet for me. I'm sorry, but this is a disrespectful price.
I love it. When's the first game of these playoffs start? Because I know NBA is Saturday. Is the NHL?
Yep.
Oh, it's all Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Is that usually the case? I feel like they usually is a gap, like a week gap between the starts. I don't remember the NHL and the NBA both starting on a Saturday.
Well, because the NBA added some games because we have to see who's going to play between the 8 seeds and the 10 seeds. So
it always started on a Saturday anyway, though. This was just they end a little earlier than they give the 4 or 5 days off with the gap. But I don't know. The last couple of years, I'm trying to think. I don't remember it starting at the same time. You would think both leagues have a mutual interest in. All right, let me give you a little breathing space. Let me give my league a little breathing space where we both get better promotion. Like we would be sitting here saying, all right, NBA playoffs start Saturday. And then next week we go, all right, NHL playoffs start Saturday. And it's better from a promotion standpoint.
It's the play-in stuff. The play-in stuff has ruined this. Like the NHL regular season ended tonight. The playoffs start on Saturday. That's 1 day off between the finish of the regular season and the start of the playoffs. The NBA regular season ended last Sunday. Some of those teams don't play till this Sunday. It's a whole week off. No.
That's a good point.
No, I don't like that. The NBA playoffs should have started already. And I guess technically they did with these play-in things, but actually they don't, because if you bet a team to make the playoffs, the play-in tournament doesn't count. So you have to win the play-in rounds to cash your to make the playoffs bet.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just talking between the break because Ian Cameron gave a compelling case for the Canadians to win the East. And I was looking, I was like, all right, long shot. Maybe they're 20-1, 30-1, NHL, anything can happen. Go to DraftKings, 50-1. I mean, I don't even need to know much else. 50-1. I got a team to root for. I'm a big Canadian, so I might get a Canadians hat. Do you like the 50-1 number?
There are worse bets to be made. I don't hate it because I don't think the path is. I think the path is easier for them as opposed to somebody in the top half of the bracket. If you were just looking at the dogs, right? Because if you look at the postseason bracket, if they get by their first round series, and obviously if you're betting them to win the Eastern Conference, you're betting them to upset the Capitals in the first round. Well, you've already knocked out the number 1 seed Capitals, right? And so you're alive. You're live there. You knocked out the 1 seed, which I think could happen because if Logan Thompson's still hurt, goaltender for Washington. And then in the second round, you're taking on the winner of the Devils and the Hurricanes. And with all due respect to the Hurricanes, because I think they're fantastic, I think the Devils are live in that series. And if the Devils pull an upset, I mean, my goodness, like Montreal might even be favored over the Devils in a second round series. Now the Devils would have home ice, so that probably wouldn't be the case. But yeah, I think you're live. I would much rather have like an underdog in that bottom half of the bracket, whether it's the Devils or the Canadiens, as opposed to the top half of the bracket where the Leafs are going to get by the Senators, and then the winner of Tampa Bay and Florida that's going to be an incredible series. I mean, Florida is the reigning Stanley Cup champs, and Tampa, we already know their history and what they're capable of as well. So the fact that you get to avoid those teams, I think it's a good bet. 50-1, it's a good bet.
Is there any angle for game ones, like unders? I know, game 6 is game 7, especially even NBA, NHL, max intensity, a little tight. Under is usually a good look. Is there a game 1 angle or not necessarily?
I just think unders in general are going to be the way to look in all of these games. I mean, the lines are going to be at 5.5. They're going to be tight lines. When it gets to later in the series for elimination games, not so much game 7s, but for elimination games, I always like to look towards the overs because we have a team that's playing with nothing to lose because their season's over. When they're down a goal, they're going to pull the goaltender. When they're down 2 goals, they're going to keep the goalie pulled. They're going to pull him again. You might get 2 empty net goals in some of these elimination
fouling at
games.
The end of a basketball game, like a college basketball conference tournament game. We're down 9 with 15 seconds out, whatever. We'll give another foul just because nothing was an interesting angle. I hadn't thought of that.
So I'm just trying to look up in the last, let's say we'll start with the 2021 season. So we'll go post-COVID here. I'm just trying to see if I can pull up some data on the first round of the playoffs to see how home teams do. This is not just game 1. This is just in the first round. We have noticed 52.5% to the over, actually. For favorites covering 57.4%, but not covering on the puck line, which I think is interesting. So maybe taking some of these dogs on the puck line could be a way to go in some of these games. With the high probability of games going into overtime, just how competitive and tightly contested these series are and these games are. Taking a plus 1.5 on these dogs on a night in, night out basis certainly could be a profitable way to look at the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm going to dive further into this database and look at these numbers and see if we can come up with something for tomorrow's show. But man, I'm seeing 60% covering on the puck line for underdogs in the first round. Seems like a profitable bet to me, but that all depends. We'll have to keep an eye on that for sure. He is Will Hill. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is VSiN PrimeTime. Coming up here, coming up next, we'll give a couple of best bets for the Friday slate of games. We have Major League Baseball, and then we have the play-in rounds that will resume, of course, with the right to be the 8th seed in these conferences and get swept by the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Cleveland Cavaliers. But best bets for those games coming up next. Once again, he is Will Hill. Hit him up on Twitter at @NotTheWillHill. I'm Scott Seidenberg on Twitter at ScottsOnAir. This is VSiN Primetime right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Ready to get in on the action? First Bet has you covered. Sign up now to access exclusive promotions and bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every day right from your phone or computer. Visit firstbet.com. That's the number one, stbet.com. Use promo code VSiN200. Score a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days, up to $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today at firstbet.com. I'm Scott Seidenberg alongside Will Hill. This is VSiN Primetime here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. A week away from the NFL Draft. Certainly we'll have some final draft bets coming up for you tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll also do an extended, a little bit more of a preview on the playoff series that begin on Saturday in both the NBA and the NHL. But Will, taking a look at the schedule here for Friday, Major League Baseball, or we have the two play-in games. Do you have a best bet to give the audience right now? I'll give you your pick. You can do baseball or you can do the NBA play-in, whichever one you want.
I don't love anything. I'm not going to force it just because I forced it. I felt like Wednesday with the play-in. So I'm going to go. We got a lot of games this weekend, and Saturday is a great sports weekend with all these playoffs and Saturday into Sunday. And then once it starts, it goes for a long time. Orlando Magic team total under 95.5 at DraftKings. That is on Sunday. I just think Boston is rested. They're hungry. They're home. And I think Orlando is very limited offensively. So I will go Orlando team total under 95.5. And then I will go Rockets plus 1.5 games for the series. I think their youth, their size, their athleticism can give the Warriors fits. I think that's a long series. As far as the games tomorrow, if I had to bet anything, I would take the Rangers plus 120 in Major League Baseball. Anytime you get DeGrom at home plus money, I know he hasn't been great, and it's the Dodgers, but I will take DeGrom at plus money. So that will be the one for Major League Baseball tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off that, DeGrom. I'm going to go with the first 5 innings, under 4.5 runs in that Rangers game against the Dodgers. We got Yamamoto on the mound for the Dodgers. He's been excellent to start the season, and it makes sense for Yamamoto because here's a guy who came in last season with all the pressure in the world, right? It's an adjustment to living in America, to playing in Major League Baseball. Yes, he had Ohtani there to help him out, but the Japanese media, which is like more intrusive than the New York media, but the Japanese media is all over you to make sure that you succeed. He had a couple of injuries. Like, it's going to be a rocky first season. But what has happened that has been the difference between last year and this year? Well, now there's somebody else to take that pressure off. Roki Sasaki is getting all that attention now for the Dodgers. And Yamamoto now has a year under his belt. He's got accustomed to living in the U.S. He's got accustomed to Major League Baseball. He's now comfortable with his teammates. He understands how this whole media works now, doing the interviews, having the translators, all that stuff. And all the pressure's on Sasaki. And he could be a mentor. And he can just rely on pitching now. And that's why we're seeing early success right now from Yamamoto, a much better season for him this year than what we saw last year from him. So it makes sense that he's performing really well. I like him to shut down this Rangers offense, and I think Jacob deGrom has a bounce-back performance coming off of a subpar performance against the Mariners. I do like this first 5 under 4.5. Find the best price out there, minus 140. You can get a little less than that, maybe minus 135. Go under 4.5 runs in the first 5 innings between the Rangers and the Dodgers coming up tomorrow. And then, Will, you and I are already on the under in the Heat-Hawks game. So I know you got incredible CLV at the 221.5. I'm on the under 219. You can even get a 219.5 right now. So that's one that I would co-sign even still at the 219. I would recommend going an under on the Miami Heat against the Atlanta Hawks. And then one other bet I'll give you, because I mentioned it earlier in the program, so I'll repeat it, and it is Trae Young to go under 26.5 points in that game. Those are our best bets, brought to you by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. GBank is upping the ante with up to a $750 bonus for new GBank Visa Signature Card customers. First, new customers who spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days from account opening will receive a $250 bonus. And in addition, if you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within the first 30 days of account opening, you'll receive another $500 bonus. Apply now at vsin.com/gbank. That's vsin.com/gbank, subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. He's Will Hill. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is VSiN Primetime. And, Will, I mentioned my best bet being a first 5 under. Do you like going with first 5 totals? Because you're taking the bullpens out of the equation and really just handicapping the starting pitching.
Yes. You not only, like you mentioned, you don't have to handicap the bullpens, which saves you time, which we know how valuable time is. And especially if you're betting unders, I flat won't do it anymore. And maybe sometimes it's to my detriment. I'm not going to bet a full game under with these bullpen games or with the extra inning rules and the ghost runner. I'm just not going to have a situation where it's 2-2 headed into the 9th and I have under 9. And next thing you know, it's 7-6 in extra innings because we have these ridiculous ghost runner rules. I'm not doing it. It's happened to me too many times. So I like the fact that first 5 is a cleaner handicap. You're isolating. It's just starting pitcher versus starting pitcher. And you get in, you get out, and you don't have to sit here and sweat these games. Not that the games go long anymore. It was different when it was a few years ago before the pitch clock, and you have these 3-4 hour games. I don't want to sweat the bet for this long. I want to know within 80 minutes whether I won or lost. So I do like these first 5 totals. I like the first 5 unders. I will not play a full game under. And I've been doing this more. I gotta keep doing it. First 5 when you can get a half a run.
Yeah,
especially if it's a low total. That's beautiful. Especially you get a guy like Skubal, if he's ever a dog, which he's not really anymore. DeGrom might be a situation tomorrow where you get him first 5. Or look, how many times after 5 innings is it 2-2? And you know what? You cash your bet, which is a great feeling. So those half runs in the first 5 are extremely, extremely valuable.
I love it. Yeah, I do love taking that half a run with the dog in the first 5 innings. We have a day game in baseball. It's the traditional Friday afternoon, 2:20 Eastern time start for the Cubs at Wrigley as they will take on the Diamondbacks. It's Colin Ray on the mound for the Cubs and Corbin Burns going for Arizona. Now, the Diamondbacks are favored on the road, which is interesting right in its own right because of how good the Cubs have played this season. There is no total posted yet because with a Wrigley game, they don't post the totals in advance. They wait till the day of to give you a total because of the wind situation. I can tell you right now, looking at the early wind report for Wrigley Field for tomorrow's game, weather of 72 degrees with 15.2 mile an hour winds blowing out to center field, slightly towards left center. And then stronger winds as you progress throughout the game, 16.1 miles per hour blowing out at Wrigley. Can I interest you, Will Hill, in a first run first inning, a Yerfie? Can I interest you in a Yerfie in this game?
Yeah, what number do you think we'll get?
It's got to be favorite. It's got to be because of the wind. Because of the wind.
Especially you get Arizona, like you get Carroll, who's fast and his power. I won't bet Nerfy with some of these guys, especially like when Acuna's healthy. When you have the speed and the power, I noticed it today, Arizona against Miami. Corbin either walked or got hit by pitch. Next thing you know, he's on third base, sac fly. It's 1-0 Arizona before you can blink. Arizona didn't have a hit, and it was 1-0. So when you have the speed power of Carroll, plus, look, you got 5 other shots, and Burns hasn't been great. I think your look is a good one.
Okay, so FanDuel has a total up of, let's see if anybody else has this. Circa's got it up. 10.5 is the total for this game, with the over juiced at -115. Let's see if FanDuel has a first inning bet. That
might be the highest total I've seen. You don't see too many 10.5s anymore. 10.5's about the highest total I've seen all year.
It's high wind. It's going to happen. High wind. First inning. No, they have first inning total. First inning over under a half a run. Oh my goodness. The over is -156 on FanDuel.
What's the under?
+122. Let me look at DK. DraftKings.
That's probably priced accurately.
It's because of the wind. DraftKings over a half a run -145.
Over is -145, and the under is what? Similar, +125, something like that.
Under is +110.
Well, that's a nice. It's good to be a bookmaker, isn't it?
It's nice. I mean, it's good. The straddles are fun. Sure. I would, though. I'd say if I had to make a bet, I don't really like these odds, but I would go yes, just because Carroll's. You mentioned Corbin Carroll. He's been hot. Corbin Burns has been a mess, and the wind is blowing out. Very strong winds at Wrigley. One deep fly ball could carry over the wall. Don't forget, coming up next after VSiN Primetime is Cashing Out with Joe Serralo, and then tomorrow morning, VSiN by the books with Dave Ross and former Major League pitcher Jensen Lewis at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, followed by a numbers game with Gil Alexander at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It's all coming up next right here on VSiN. He is Will Hill. Hit him up on Twitter at @NotTheWillHill. Hill. I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at ScottsOnAir, or send us all a message at VSiN Live. It's VSiN Primetime right here on the Sports Betting Network.